pleasant good Wednesday evening. I'm Chase Miller. Welcome to another edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show as presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. This week, all spring sports on the program as we'll talk a little track and field with Kindred with Josh Allmaras from the Kindred Vikings. We'll have a senior spotlight from Northern Cass with Trey Husar talking about his commitment to South Dakota State University for baseball and more. Speaking of baseball, Ada-Borup-West baseball coach and Norman County Eastland Hinderdale baseball coach will be joining us, and we'll hear from Cory Erickson of HCV softball as well. That and more is still to come on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. But let's tee it up with our very own Kevin Kochman talking a little Cougar baseball here from Ada-Borup-West.
YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. We get to talk baseball with head coach of Ada-Borup-West baseball, Mike Erickson. The Cougars awaiting to get that first game underway, and I know that on this schedule, as we talk here beginning of the week, we're hopeful by the end of the week there's games played. However, there's some concerns about that based on just the field conditions and level of play. But Mike, I know that we were talking out there. You don't want to complain about the spring we've had so far because you've been outdoors quite a bit. And last I checked, there is no snow on the ground at the Ada-Borup-West ballpark.
Yeah, no, it's been a better spring than some years, and we've been able to at least be outdoors for part of a practice, and we haven't been on Tony Side Field yet. We've been just on some grass west of the school outside of my classroom, and we put down some bases, we've seen fly balls, we've been able to do some long toss, get relays in, things like that. And that's usually your concern. You don't love when your first game is when you see your first fly ball that's not in the gym ceiling. So we are a little bit further along in some ways. So I don't want to complain too much about it. Obviously we haven't seen great temps, so that's where it's more usually like a split thing where, okay, 9 through 12, we're going outside for 45 minutes, then junior high, you're going outside for 45 minutes. It's been more of that sort of thing.
And we talked about numbers here a couple weeks ago and you were getting things going, and as a whole, pretty decent numbers. They're spread out pretty well. You graduated some pretty good talent last year, so you're relying on some guys maybe not as experienced. You have experience in some spots rather than others. I guess it's probably just like any other year, but overall, pretty decent numbers for the area.
Yeah, we're sitting at 35 total players, and it kind of averages out to be about 10 to 12 players at each level, junior high, JV, and varsity. So it's a nice number to be at in that way, where we should be able to find playing time for guys and get guys on the field. But yeah, it has been as far as experience, it's been a process to figure out what we got and who's ready and where are our strengths, where are our weaknesses, that sort of thing. So, we did graduate, I think it's six or seven seniors, whatever that was. I'd have to count it out. But we do have 3 seniors and 8 juniors this year, and then a couple of sophomores there that I think can probably help us at the varsity level too. So the word I'd use is unproven. We have some guys that have done some great things. I think of like Austin McCraven, who was the offensive player of the year in the conference last year. Casper Kritzberger, we faced a lot of injury last year, and we relied on his arm to pitch his way through the section tournament, and we made a pretty deep run, especially considering how beat up we were in some key spots. And he was a big part of that. And then Ames Vicino too has played a really big role the last couple of years. So beyond that, it's kind of, okay, what do we got? What can we do? And we do it. That junior class does have some talented guys there. And, and I think even seniors like Caden Dahl was hurt for most of last year, and Grant Kubal is looking strong in practice. So we got some guys that can, fill some roles. It's just going to be kind of figuring out what the right way to put the puzzle together is.
And hopeful that you get more than 10 games throughout the season to do that, right? I know that
Yeah.
you've got a very good schedule, and I know this week you've got two at home that are on the schedule. From that standpoint, you mentioned some guys that you're looking at leading into. There's some really good talent again in the conferences that you belong to, and also the section. So no easy night, afternoon, whatever you want to say. It's going to be a challenge for the kids, and then with the nature of the schedule, there might be some weeks where you're loaded up based on some rescheduled things.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely plays a factor in, kind of developing the depth. We do have a couple of key injuries right now too with Caden Dahl coming off of another foot injury here, and Luke Finney just had elbow surgery. And those are guys that we kind of relied to play third, catch, some things like that. And we're kind of thin in the infield. So we've been putting Tyler Catlett, who's a really athletic long kid. He's been playing some first, he's been playing some third and trying to develop a little bit there, and he's actually looked pretty good. So yeah, again, it's just kind of trying to figure out where those guys are. And yeah, I think schedule wise, we have a solid schedule figured out, and we're gonna see some good competition, and we'll have some measuring sticks throughout the year. And yeah, obviously the Sacred Heart Red Lake County, they're coming back with a good chunk of their guys, and they were in the section championship game last year, and yeah, they're going to be tough. So um, we're like I said, we're gonna prepare and compete as well as we can, and we'll kind of see where the chips fall at the end of the year. That's a long ways away. We're trying to figure out kind of more about ourselves right now rather than all of those pieces as far as the whole section goes.
No doubt, and it is a focus on yourself. I'm thinking about a couple of years ago, just in general, talking about when Boston won the state title in Class A. A team that of guys that could do a little bit of everything, but they found it. They found it at the right time. It doesn't mean you have to play the best baseball in April. You find it if you catch fire. If you find it at the right time, if you can get those arms, and you got to have, as baseball goes, you got to have a little luck here and there too. And you're hopeful that your guys have earned some of that luck because of their effort and time.
Yeah, and that's baseball's a weird game too in that way. So much is dependent on pitching matchups where, I do feel like we have a decent amount of depth. I mentioned, about 11-ish guys, upperclassmen that, I'd be confident putting about seven of them on the mound. So, not that all of them are going to be like lights out, that sort of thing, but I feel like we can throw strikes and still compete to play defense and try to scratch some runs. And then, you bring up Boston a few years ago, and those playoff runs. And again, baseball is just an odd game where a lot of things need to go right. And I talk with Ryan Hanlon about things like, a lot of years you're just waiting for that one thing to go wrong, and it never went wrong. And that's, it's a tip of the hat to them in that way where, they played hard, played well through some big moments. And, those are the kind of the things that you strive for as a team each year, when you face adversity. How do you react to that, and how do you bounce back?
I know we talked about it, and I think your coaching staff returns as far as in the program back, just like we've had in the last couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, Coach Jorgensen will help out with the JV team and varsity assistant, and then Nate McCraven's helping out the junior high. And I've kind of put a bug in Sonny Resnick's ear about helping out when he's done with college. He's trying to get a law degree, so he's got plenty of extra time, So
Right. Always, yeah.
yeah,
But
so
always, use those ties. If you've got someone that you can peg, I know you've used an Ethan Upsall over the years too, as
uh,
someone you could peg on to help out every once in a while.
that's right. And that's just it. It's pitching and catching. So those are kind of those fine detail things that sometimes guys need to hear an extra voice. And quite honestly, yes, I've done both of those things, but my specialties are elsewhere.
That's right. Wanted to share this bit because I took this from you last year as we were chatting about ball in general and the concerns about pitching because of, okay, well, if you don't have 3, 4 arms at the minimum, right, that you can lean on, it's going to be tough with pitch counts to advance through a section tournament. Just flat out is.
Yeah.
So you talked about how you've been handling it at the junior high level and what you've been doing to try to develop arms because again, baseball, unless you're playing all summer long, you don't get the time because of the nature of a spring sport. So what's the installment there by getting guys to start working on a pitch?
It's a lot of it's just catch play. Like, I think back to last summer, and we have some really good kids there playing, but we don't have a really full roster of all these guys can play catch super well. So it's starting at 50 feet. We're going to play catch at 50 feet until we can all throw a strike at 50 feet, and then just advancing that out. That's step one. If you can't play catch, you can't pitch. I mean, pitching is just playing catch with movement. So trying to figure out how to get your curveball across, and you're not going to be able to do that until you can throw a fastball, middle. So, yeah, there's a progression there that we kind of talked through. And, I try not to put anybody in a box either. Like we need to have guys that, maybe didn't pitch a lot when they were in those youth ages. Well, now they've grown a little bit and they're a little bit stronger. And, especially in boys are, they develop at such different rates that, a kid that I'll even take like Tyler Catlett. I was talking about him. He's hardly ever pitched, but I've had him on the mound every bullpen we've had, and he's looked pretty good. Again, not that he's, a lights out guy, but he's throwing strikes. He's got fastball, curveball, and yeah, it's development throughout the years. You can't put kids in boxes and not let them do things. Everybody's a pitcher until you're not. So,
I like that.
yeah, that's
There's a
the
way
main philosophy.
to develop
Until you're
it.
not.
That I like it, and you got to find ways. And anybody who can, because as you see it at the major league level, we see it now currently the way that baseball is, right? You got guys coming in that are okay. Well, you're going to come in and pitch this eighth because we're getting dodged or whatever, and you see that in the pro level now too. So obviously, having skill sets are good. So, well, it'll be a fun season. I know we're getting closer. You're looking at as we see it now, Thursday, Friday. Home games potentially, but as we know the nature of the schedule, just kind of wait and see. We'll go when we go, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, I'm optimistic about this upcoming Thursday, Friday with NCUH and Bagley, but again, if you never know with frost coming out of the ground and things like that, all of a sudden you get a soft spot and it doesn't work out. But hoping to be over at the Tony Sipe here Tuesday and Wednesday for practice when the temps get a little more bearable, and like I said, we can only go forward from there.
That's right. Looking forward to a great season of Ada-Borup-West baseball. Mike, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. Good luck, and we'll see you throughout the year.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. That's Mike Erickson. He is head coach of Ada-Borup-West baseball, joining us on our coaches show here with YourLiveEvent.com.
Continuing with the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, brought to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. I'm Joe Lancello, joined by Jesse Rostad, the coach of the Norman County East Ulen Hitterdall Titans. And Jesse, I would imagine your season hasn't started when it was originally supposed to because of the weather.
Yeah, that's correct. I think we've had 3 games rescheduled so far this year. So we're in the same boat as a lot of teams, I'm sure. So we're supposed to play at Ada on Thursday. Hopefully that works out. I think their field is in fairly good shape from what I'm hearing. So hopefully we can actually play a game this week.
Okay. And you've also got a game Saturday in a very nice place to play, but it's not one that's from around here. You're taking on Fosston, and that's going to be at Siebert Field at the University of Minnesota.
Yeah, so Ryan Hanlon reached out and wanted to put together a game down in the cities, and it worked out because we were taking our kids down there to the Twins game on Sunday anyway. So we kind of made a weekend of it. So we'll leave Friday and play Saturday afternoon at a beautiful ballpark, and then go to the Twins game on Sunday and come back. So that'll be a fun time.
I've got to admit, I haven't been to Siebert Field in a lot of years, but I hear they've made some improvements to it, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, it looks like the weather's supposed to be super nice, and it's a all turf field from what I am hearing. So that should be a fun experience for the teams and the players.
Okay. The Titans last year 2-16 on the season. How many kids do you have back from last year?
We have I want to say we have probably a little more than half our rosters back. So we have 16 guys out. Half of them are probably returning, I think, and a good mix of 9th through 12th. So we have a good core group back from last year.
Was last year a case where you had a lot of younger guys who were maybe playing varsity a little sooner than you would have thought?
Yeah, so there's a lot of games we were super competitive in. Didn't show in the win column necessarily, but we did compete. We had a lot of young guys. I think we ended up ending the year with, I think, a sophomore, 2 freshmen, and a junior, I think, in the infield. So there was some growing pains, some younger guys that we got in there. We tried to develop some more pitching, so hopefully we'll be in better shape this year. But we did play a lot of close games. We were competitive. It just seemed like every game we'd kind of have 1 or 2 innings where we kind of would implode a little bit. And so hopefully this year we can kind of turn the tables a little bit.
Who are some of the guys that you're looking to for this season to stand out?
Our 3 captains are kind of our leaders right now. 2 were juniors. We have Jace Broseth, who actually isn't able to play for us this year because he tore his ACL during basketball. So that's a blow to our pitching staff and our infield. So he's one of our captains. We have Will Jarek. He's going to be our catcher and one of our pitchers. Also plays infield. And then Ian Jacobson's our senior. He's our he's had a lot of varsity experience. He's going to be one of our pitchers and infielders. Is
Ian coming back from an injury too from basketball season?
He was kind of been banged up ever since football. He had a calf injury, and now he had an ankle injury in football or in basketball, excuse me. And so he's getting close to being healthy. I keep asking him every day how he's doing, and it seems to be getting better and better every day. So I think he's close.
Okay. Any new faces for that we should look for?
A couple of kids from last year that were sophomores that should contribute quite a bit. Trig Baki is one of our infielders. He'll be our DH and play some infield. Mason Yarborough played a little first base for us last year, and he's actually going to switch over to third base this year. He's done a nice job so far. And then we have a couple freshmen, hopefully that'll contribute again. Hayden Haspel will be our backup catcher and also play some infield too. And he's a pretty good little pitcher too. So yeah, we have some good 9th and 10th graders that I think hopefully will contribute this year.
What do you see as the strong points of the Titan baseball team?
Well, first of all, I think this team is super close. It's a very tight-knit group. They get along really well with each other. I'm excited to actually start playing some games because they really do have a we versus me mentality. And you don't get that too often to have 16 guys all kind of working together for one goal. They're really competitive. It's hard for me to get them out of practice some days because they want to keep hitting. They want to keep taking ground balls. So they really are hungry to learn and, get better every day. So, but I hope that our defense can tighten up a little bit, our infield, and hopefully we can get a couple of the younger guys to pitch to kind of take the place of losing Jace.
Have you been able to get outside very much?
Well, talking to other teams, it sounds like we've maybe got out a few more times. We've probably been out 3 or 4 times, maybe even if it's just in the outfield, taking fly balls. But we've maybe been on the full field a couple times. So we've been out there a few times on the nice days when we can find some dry land. So we haven't been stuck completely inside. But now with YLE getting 12 inches of snow last week, it's a process now getting the field clear.
Yeah, finding dry land indeed.
Exactly.
A problem.
For sure.
Who do you see as other teams in the region to keep an eye on this year?
I think it's a competitive conference. You can always put Ada in there. You can always put Fosston's going to be competitive. I think, Red Lake County is going to be good. It's hard to pinpoint 1 or 2 teams because I don't know who's back and who's coming up through the ranks. But I think it's going to be a competitive conference again. So we're going to have to up our game up even more.
Okay. Hopefully Thursday you're at Ada-Borup-West. Saturday for sure at Seabird Field to take on Fosston. That was a 3:00 game, you said?
3:00. Yep. So we play a varsity game at 3, and then we'll play kind of a JV after that at 5:00. So, but the main one's at 3:00.
Okay. That sounds like a good start to the season. Jesse Rostad, thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
And we'll have more on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, brought to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation, right after this.
Treat yourself to a great career at American Crystal Sugar Company. Team up with quality people making quality products. Full-time and year-round in a stable business. With great pay and benefits, including time off available from day one. American Crystal Sugar Company invests in you to promote your continued growth and career advancement. Grow your career, doing your best work within the world's best beet sugar company. Apply online today at AmericanCrystalCareers.com.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Visit with Ryan Opdahl, your local Farmers Union insurance agent in Hillsborough.
Growers, prepare your fields and yields against the wet conditions for 2025 and beyond with a drain tile project from Chad's Excavating out of Mayville. Drain tiling will improve and increase your yields and land values for years to come. Chad's Excavating provides free, detailed estimates, and with over 40 years of combined success, they provide professional installation and service. Call Chad today to prepare for your future and any questions that you might have. That's Chad's Excavating out of Mayville, helping farmers grow.
Welcome back to our Dakota Heritage Bank post-game interview here with Cory Erickson. And Coach, you're able to get some run support early in this game. How important was it to start strong and start fast here against Northern Cass tonight?
It was really important. I thought that the girls, we were a little bit slow offensively right away. We were able to scratch a couple runs across early on. There was kind of one or two here. I think we got 3 runs in, I'm not sure which inning that was. Maybe it was the third. Or fourth. Okay.
Yep.
And it just... We're able to kind of keep pressure on steadily, which is big. I'm not sure how many innings we scored a run in, but that was huge for us to be able to kind of just consistently keep pulling away. Still kind of waiting for us to have that really big inning where we were able to get 4, 5, 6 across the plate. But for early on in the season, where our bats are still kind of figuring themselves out, I was pretty happy with how we did today.
How about the 2-out hitting tonight? There were some innings where there was nobody on base, 2 outs, and you put together a rally and just scratch across 1 or 2 insurance runs. So how big was that 2-out hitting tonight?
Well, it was big, and it's something that we've talked about is just being able to put a ball in play in a situation like that, just making them make an extra play, and so no, I was happy with that. I was happy with the job that some of our first year, player like Alexis Iverson had a big hit there early on in that game. Carsey had a good solid hit. It was probably her first good solid hit that she's had all season long. So, and Peyton, almost put one over the fence. I think if that wind's not blowing in, that one goes over. So, really happy about all of that and just how we're able to string hits together today.
Yeah, and then talk about the defensive gem we saw up the middle there from Kittleson. That diving catch, it saved a run, and there was no more runs scored by Northern Cass after that point.
Yeah, and she needed that just mentally. I think she's been frustrated with her hitting a little bit early on here, so I think just to make a couple big plays defensively kind of settled her down a little bit, and we saw better things from her, offensively throughout the game, and it's going to be there. I'm sure, next game she's going to kind of find a rhythm, and it'll be right there. So, defensively, she's just an anchor for us over there. She really settles things down, always giving 110% over there, and the rest of the defense kind of feeds off of that.
Yeah, and how nice was it to just be on the field and play some softball today, granted that it's like first week of April basically still.
Yeah, no, that was big for us, just to get out here and play on dirt. We've had a couple games on turf, but it's not the same. And most of our games are going to be on dirt this year. So it was good to be at home and have the home crowd here. We had quite a few people watching today, so I was happy about that. And just like you said, just to get out in early April and see games early on, that's going to help us out in the long run, I think.
And how big was it to get this as a region victory and a team that you saw in that region tournament last year, just kind of getting that sneak peek and also a victory here on your home grass?
Yeah, well, I told the girls, before the game, this is the team that knocked us out of the region tournament last year. So we want to come out and we want to prove something right away, that we're not the same team as we were last year, and we still got a lot of season to go, so the season's not over by any means. They're going to get better, we're going to continue to get better, and we know that we'll be facing them here again in probably 2-3 weeks.
Yeah. How about the defense overall in this game? Seemed just pretty sound, especially for early season and cold weather softball. It seemed like your defense was pretty on point, infield and outfield.
Yeah, it was just the one bobbled catch out in right field, I think, that led to that run.
Mm-hmm.
And that, Destiny, the wind was blowing in, and Destiny had to kind of come up and just got her in the palm there, and we talked to her about making a correction on that, and she did that, and then she was rock solid the rest of the way. Outfielders played great today. Infield, solid. We were moving pretty well. Have a couple plays that we'd probably like to have back that we think that we can make, that we just made a couple of mistakes on, but again, early on this season, it's going to be fine.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining me, and good job on getting the home season opener victory.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for joining us. That's Cory Erickson, the Dakota Heritage Bank post-game interview.
There's more at 104. Hillsborough, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsborough and see why there's more at 104.
Parenting is hard for all of us. And so providing those little resources that we can share for those conversations that are hard to have, and to kind of be that icebreaker for both professionals, parents, and then open up that conversation to the more engaging conversation that's needing to be had.
Being a parent myself, oftentimes it's the simple things that make a difference.
As a busy parent myself, just engaging with your kids, making it an everyday thing so they know that you're there, they can always come to you when those difficult situations do arise.
Contact Trail District Health Unit in Hillsborough for more information.
Sharing our heritage, sharing our future. Choosing the right bank for your financial needs can be challenging with the many choices available. Dakota Heritage Bank is pleased you're interested in knowing more about what they can do for you. The Dakota Heritage Bank community bank setting is a strong advantage they have over larger, less personal banks. Customers are more than account numbers, they are friends and neighbors. Working together, Dakota Heritage Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Well, as we turn the page here into the spring, which means for track and field athletes and coaches, the fingers crossed for Mother Nature for at least the first part of April to get outdoors for practices with some indoor activity. But we know, Josh, coming up here in just a month and a half, we'll be talking about postseason regionals and hopefully state track and field as well. Join us again from the Kindred perspective is Coach Josh Allmaras here. And Josh, just take us through what a coach's perspective looks like at this time of the year. There has been some track and field meets. It's been indoor early on in April just because you know what the weather could or could not bring, so it gets at least the teams out to compete and get a little familiarity of what you're going to expect from relays and everything else. But as a coach, what's going through your mind when you transition from the winter season here into the spring season, particularly track and field?
Yeah, well, we're first of all, we're very excited. I mean, track is such a phenomenal sport. It showcases so many different talents, and we're very excited for the spring season. We're already in week 7. Which is wild. I mean, there's a lot of times people are like, "Wow, you're already in week 7," and we sure are. So we're very fortunate. We have the opportunity to compete in the indoor season, like you said. So we had 3. Every kid got an opportunity to compete in 3 indoor meets. We went to, I think, 4 or 5 total, if you take into consideration getting into some JV meets. But yeah, I mean, we're fortunate that we were able to go to places like NDSU and Concordia College. We didn't make it to UND this year, but they have a beautiful facility. And we're kind of in that transition right now from ending our indoor season and getting into our outdoor season. So this is a week that, if the forecast holds up, as we know in spring sports, it can be a little bit dicey. But this is a week where we fully expect and hope that we're done with indoor, had a great time, and we're ready to get outdoor. And that's where the that's where the real excitement lies.
Take us through what's the difference outside of just the obvious, not having a full 100 meters, for the sprinters, or maybe having the full 400 in terms of what an outdoor track it kind of looks like. Obviously, the throwers a little bit different. Don't have to worry about conditions compared to outdoors to indoors. But what's the biggest difference that you see, Josh, from your athletes once they transition from indoors to the outdoors?
I'd say two things. Number one, you're not really in your best shape yet. You get some good performances and definitely we were excited about some of our performances, but you really get, like you said, you get a taste for what you've got. So you're just not in the best shape and ready to, perform at your highest level. But then also it just amps up a lot in the outdoor season because North Dakota, you get to qualify by standard, and that's a big deal. I mean, we have a state track meet that brings in, I think, truly the best athletes because once you hit the standard, you make it to the state meet. So the excitement certainly amps up with that. And then, the team competitions and stuff are a little more talked about maybe within our rooms at the outdoor meet. So just get those three things. I mean, I said two, but I'm going to change it to three. You get in better shape, you get an opportunity to qualify, and then the team aspect amps up a little bit in the outdoor season.
I know talking with whether it's athletes or coaches, they kind of assimilate track and field similar to golf, right? Or maybe a cross country because there is a team aspect, but also you as an individual are looking to maybe do your own personal best or having a chance to get on a podium. So how much is the dichotomy here, Josh, about talking about the team first? Maybe have an athlete who's really good as a sprinter, so you're talking to them about their 100 or their 200s. How much is the individual and team aspect talked about within the program?
Quite a bit in Kindred. I mean, we very much emphasize the team aspect. The team is very, very important, but it is a very individualized team effort. I mean, it's not, you can't really pick one another up as much as you can in maybe basketball or something. You have a turnover. You look at the Florida game last night with the technical, and the guy's saying, pick me up. And obviously Florida did. You don't get that exact opportunity. You get it in a more indirect way, but yeah, the individual piece of it is definitely celebrated. We have a lot of fantastic individual athletes that bring a lot to the table, but we try to maximize that individual effort, knowing that if you do better, it's gonna help our team. We're gonna score more points, and we're gonna place higher as a team at the end of the meet.
When you look at the boys' side, the girls' side, some years you might say, okay, we got a really good group of relayers, so we know our 4x1, 2, our 4x4 is going to be really good. Some years you might say we might be really good. Maybe it's going to be in the jumps or possibly in the throws. So what's kind of something that you look at saying this could be a really strong area for us on the boys' the girls' side this year coming into the outdoor season here, Josh?
I think we're very diverse. I think that every area we really are strong in. If I had to pick one, I think it'd be tough. I mean, we've got some great jumpers led by Presley Peraza. Our vaulters are looking fantastic right now. We have a couple of 12-foot vaulters that in Jack and Brock that are doing a great job. Our distance crew is strong. I expect our relays to be very good. Our sprinters, Miles Stroh's leading the way with those guys so far. He broke Paul Olson's indoor record at Concordia, so give a taste about how fast he's running right now. And our throwers, we aren't, we lost Riley Sunram, so that's a big loss. But I think our throwers are going to score some points for us too. So it's tough to say which area I think is going to dominate this early on. I'm very proud of how diverse our team is at this point.
And then taking a look at the girls' side here, Josh, similar type of question, just kind of how do you see on the girls' side some areas that you feel, or is it maybe as diverse as the boys' side?
I think, Elsa Ingebrigtsen is phenomenal in the hurdles, and we have a few other hurdlers that I think are going to score some points for us as well. So hurdles I think is looking strong right now. Again, I think our relays are going to be good. Our throws are looking good with Samantha Sherrick and Greta McKinney leading the way with them. So maybe not as much diversity. I think the diversity is there. We've got some good distance runners, good sprinters. Our relays are going to do some damage as well. But yeah, Elsa Ingebrigtsen has been a joy to coach over her 5 years of being with the program, and with what she brings to the table, both hurdle wise, diversity wise, just being a great kid, high character. I would have to say hurdles are something we're looking forward to doing some damage in.
I know you mentioned a couple of names, Riley Sunram, Paul Olson. There's been some really good track and field athletes that have came through Kindred in the last couple of years. But let's talk about Elsa. Just kind of what do you think that she has the opportunity to, leave her trademark, so to speak? What is something that she does throughout the course of the season that you say that she can be the next one to kind of put her, if not already, putting her, name in some record books and stone and stuff of that nature within the program here, Josh?
Yeah, she's just such a phenomenal young lady to be around. She's got such a positivity about her. She brings just great positive vibes. She's so upbeat. She's a great leader. She, all the intangibles that you want from an athlete, she possesses. And then she's just wildly talented. I think she qualified. I might mess this up, but I think she qualified 11 of the 19 events at the state meet last year. That's just incredible. I mean, anything she steps on the track to do it's just a joy to watch. It's one of those athletes that, we're very well aware of how special she is, and whatever it is that she's doing, you want to turn your attention to it because you never know. You're going to get a phenomenal effort. She's going to be nervous stepping to the line, but she's going to give it everything she's got, and you never know how awesome it's going to be. It's going to be awesome. Just how awesome is it going to be?
And from that standpoint, Presley Peraz is someone who we've talked with just recently on our senior spotlight, heading to Minot State for both track and field and college hoops. But from just the track and field side, Josh, if someone hasn't seen Presley compete, what are some things that he brings as intangibles to the team as well?
He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, and he brings a great energy about him too. It wouldn't be a true Presley Peraz performance if he doesn't get the slow clap going. If he's not slapping his legs and he's not hopping around, and he's got a big, gregarious smile about him. And he's got an infectious energy about him that, I would say he brings the juice, almost every time he does anything. Jumps. He's a great triple jumper, won the triple jump for us last year. And he's jumping really good right now. Long jump, high jump, just went 6'2". On Friday at the Thundering Herd, and he's fast. He's looking really fast on the track too. So he's again a multi-talented guy who's fun to be around.
Well, the thing for me, Judge, you mentioned it already 7 weeks in, and it's February, and you hear track and field coaches talking about, well, we'll see what happens, because for some wrestlers, it's right into wrestling, into track and field. For basketball, depending on how far you get to a regional to a state, maybe you get a day or two or a week off, depending on how stuff is kind of going. Then you get right into the swing of things as well. But is there a thing of cabin fever when it comes to track and field? Because I know there's some years better than others that you can physically practice, you can get out on the outdoors. Some years you can get to what your first outdoors schedule is supposed to be and finally get out there. Other years it's, well, maybe May 1st we can get outside just because of rain or snow or everything else. But how much can you do, right? When you talk with baseball and softball coaches, I got about a week, maybe two of stuff we can do before it starts getting repetitive and starts getting old. How about on the track and field side? How much can you do indoors before it starts maybe feeling like Groundhog's Day all over again?
That part I don't think is too frustrating. I mean, we're able to be very creative. I think in Kindred we're lucky. Our weight room is done. Last year we're lifting in a bus barn, and it's dusty and cold. So we have this beautiful weight room this year, and that makes it awesome. We have a long hallway now with the addition of our middle school where we can get 60 meters of sprints in and have some good deceleration. So that part's been good. We've got some blow up pads for high jumps. So I really, the creativity that we've been able to showcase. I know the throwers, sometimes they're going in the morning and they're throwing into our batting cages. And so I think that piece of it isn't too tough to handle. It takes patience with getting our full team together is the biggest thing. We're so excited about our boys and how well they're doing at in basketball year after year. But we get excited when we get to have our full team, which this year wasn't until week 6 of the season when we were really able to start gaining some cohesiveness as one big group. So, the inside stuff we can handle. Now we're super excited because we're starting to see the full squad come together now.
Hey, Josh, as always, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you do, and best of luck to the crew and the Vikings program this year on the track and field.
Thanks for all your coverage, Chase. It's always a pleasure.
Join us for our senior spotlight this week on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show is Trey Husar from Northern Cast. Crazy to think for Trey and the fellow seniors that just a few weeks to a month left here of the regular season and school, and then make your way into the summer months. And Trey is heading to South Dakota State University for collegiate baseball as well. But Trey, first things first, I know you always hear that senior year is the quickest year in high school. Now that you're in it and we're in the month of April, has it lived up to the billing as you hear from other people and how quickly your senior year goes?
100%. The fall months felt like they took a little long just because I'm not in a sport during the fall months. But as soon as basketball season rolled around, it flew. Feels like just yesterday we had our first practice. So it was lots of fun, but it definitely went quick.
What's one thing that you're trying to enjoy most here from baseball into track and field, just kind of the last time representing Northern Cast? What are you trying to enjoy most, but also compete, whether it's in the jumps or obviously on the mound in the box when it comes to, baseball and track and field here?
Yeah, it's for sure. Creating memories with my teammates is probably what I'm most trying to relish. Obviously being successful is the goal, but the thing I can for sure control is how good of a teammate I am. So I'm really, really looking forward to spending the last few months with my boys.
Let's recap the basketball year here quick. It was better than last year in terms of where you ended up and where you found your way into the regional tournament. I know a lot of people are going to remember that 3 overtime game with Wahpeton. And, did you have enough legs the next day, 24 hours later against Central Cass, where you and Wahpeton playing your respective teams was going to be hard? But what was one thing that you really enjoyed about the basketball season, even though you got a little banged up, got a little injured, came in and out of the lineup? But what was one thing you really liked about this year's club, Trey?
The team chemistry, honestly. There was a fight, a will to get better every single day, and not everything was super serious, nose down, just grind it out, which was also nice. We kept each other on our toes, made some jokes here and there. Turned out to be one of our most successful years in recent memory. So, yeah, the teammates, the atmosphere, coaching, everyone kind of showed out, supported us all together. It made it lots of fun.
How tough was it 24 hours later to play a game of basketball after that 3 overtime game, Trey?
It was definitely the most difficult game that I had to play in day after a triple overtime loss. I felt really bad for our juniors and sophomores though, because they took their pre-ACT and ACT that day as well. So I could only imagine how exhausted both physically and mentally they were.
Trey, as you kind of get ready for the spring months here and already into it in terms of indoor track and field, and then obviously baseball, well, knock on wood, you'll get, a few weeks in a row with Mother Nature cooperating. But what's the one thing that all these sports, basketball, track and field, baseball, what's one thing that kind of helps you, with all these particular sports, whether it's going on the diamond, going on the court, or, going to track and field?
Well, it all starts in the weight room, obviously. If you put on weight, put on strength, it helps all sports. But I'm going to say track usually improves your athleticism, your speed, that kind of stuff. Basketball, a little bit of more IQ. There's a lot of strategy in basketball that complements baseball really well. Baseball, I got to say, helps like body awareness and spatial awareness. You have to be very technically sound to play baseball, which complements basketball and then ultimately complements track. So the three of them complement each other really well. That's why a lot of programs push for multi-sport athletes and that kind of stuff, and why it's so important to be a multi-sport athlete.
Take us through your goals, whether they're individual, whether they're team here for the spring teams. What some things that you want to see from the Jags coming up here over the few weeks into the next month or two?
Well, both the boys track program and the baseball program both really want to make some noise at state. We took 4th in state last year as a boys team with like 8 of us for track, and we're hoping to repeat that or even improve on it. We've got a bunch of really good athletes and really, really good competitors that are looking to come together and try to make some noise. And on the baseball side, we've got 8 or 9 seniors. I don't really know how many for sure, but we're looking to compete, use the experience we've gained and the abilities we've gained over the years and put it together and make one final push.
What made South Dakota State just be the right fit, and particularly having the opportunity to play collegiately at any particular sport? But why SDSU? Why baseball, Trey, at the end of the day to be a Jackrabbit?
Well, it's kind of always been baseball for me. It's been the game I've known and loved since I was about 3. So I knew I wanted to play baseball in college no matter what level. The one stipulation was that they had to have an engineering program, as that's what I want to study. And academics was super important to me and where I was choosing a school. And then I really liked the town of Brookings, the kind of atmosphere it brought, small college vibe. Kind of felt similar to Northern Cass. So kind of wanted to be somewhere that reminded me of home, but wasn't right off the doorstep either.
What made civil engineering just be the next thing you want to kind of study? What got you into that particular field?
Honestly, it's kind of always been what I've wanted to do. I've really liked to design and create things, built with a lot of Legos as a kid, played a lot of Minecraft as a kid. So, yeah, it kind of steered me in the direction I'm going.
When you kind of can take a look back, Trey, and there's still more memories to be made, but as of this conversation that we're having, what's 1 or 2 sports memories? It can be Northern Cass, can be travel sports, can maybe be something with you and family going to experience a game somewhere, but what's a sports memory or 2 that kind of comes off the mind that is kind of a number 1, so to speak, on your list all time?
I mean, the one I'll never forget is that triple overtime game that we were talking about earlier. But honestly, I don't know if I can pick just one. A lot of almost, a lot of close calls that a lot of the baseball team remembers. I remember our freshman year, lost in the region championship, fought all the way back through that losers bracket and just fell short. Same thing happened last year. So that's something we've kind of been building upon, and it's been our, and we're hungry to make some noise.
When it comes to superstitions, whether it's any particular sport, is there something you have to do? Is there a pregame meal, pregame music, so to speak, Trey? Anything that you have to do before you get to the track, get to the diamond, get to the court?
No, for sure superstitions. I don't really believe in that kind of stuff, but there's a few things I do in my routine to kind of get me ready no matter what the sport is. The first one is kind of weird, and I always get weird looks at it, or looks when I talk about it, but I always take a little shot of pickle juice before I go out and compete, just because I dislike cramping very much and don't want that to be the reason I can't compete and can't participate. So that's probably the big one. Otherwise, it's just drinking enough water, that kind of stuff, proper nutrition. I might hit a light lift before a game or something just to kind of get my body ready, but nothing in particular.
When did pickle juice start? At what age did you start doing a shot of pickle juice here?
It actually started this year during basketball. My first game back from my thumb injury was against Oak Grove. I was cramping in about 4 different places in my leg, kind of fought through it. And then the next 3 days were about the worst 3 days of my life, just because I was still so sore from the cramps that night against Oak Grove. So I started trying to find a way to avoid it, and pickle juice was ultimately the way I found it.
Take us some words of advice. If someone wants to have the opportunity to maybe be a record holder in track and field for a school record, have an opportunity to be an all-region, all-state, or even play at the collegiate level here, Trey, what would be some words of advice for the next generation that's coming up and trying to kind of be in the shoes that you're in here today?
Have confidence in yourself is probably number one. One of my favorite quotes of all time I actually saw on a TikTok, and that's kind of what changed everything for me from my sophomore to my junior year was it's you work too hard to not be confident. Very simple, very short, but it really hits close to home. So that's very important. Another one is attack the weight room and attack it early and often. Another big difference from going from my sophomore to my junior year was I started lifting for real and eating for real. Still need to do more of it as I go from high school to the collegiate level for sure. but it really made a difference. Went from averaging like 4 points a game to 15 points per game in basketball, added about 8 miles an hour on my fastball for baseball, added 2 feet to my jumps for track. So it really works wonders.
Final thing for me here, Trey, what's just something from, we'll stick with baseball, as you're heading off to college to play baseball, but from Coach Johnson to just your coaches in general, whether it's school ball to travel, what's one thing that you've kind of learned from them that you hope to take with you once you get to the college ranks?
Honestly, it's kind of how to be a leader, and knowing when the right times to be what type of leader you need to be. You can be a quiet leader who kind of puts his head down and just gets to work and leads by example, or you can be a vocal one that calls people out and holds people accountable. And it's knowing the right time to use those attributes. But yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing, and that takes zero talent, which is the best part about it. So yeah.
Hey, Trey, thanks so much for your time. I hope Coach Johnson got you that Dairy Queen after that game with that blizzard. I hope he got you that.
Still waiting on
it. We'll see if that happens coming up here this spring. Trey, as always, thanks so much for your time and best of luck moving forward.
Yes, thank you.
That does it for the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Join us every Wednesday here throughout the month of April to talk more spring sports within the Red River Valley. I'm Chase Miller. The YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show is presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. We'll see you next week for another edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show.